Welcome to the Millennial podcast, the only podcast devoted to Xiaomi news and Xiaomi products. It is your host, Mitchell, and today we are going to start with the recent announcement of the Xiaomi Redmi Note 7 Pro. And it's a phone that was recently released specifically for the Indian market. It is making its way globally to retailers, and it will eventually have a global release, hopefully. But let's just take a moment to review some of the specs and some of the key differences between the Redmi Note 7 and the Redmi Note 7 Pro. Before we jump into that, I want to thank everyone that supports me, uses the affiliate links down below for the YouTube channel. And if you're listening to this either on SoundCloud or through a podcast application, go ahead and let me know in my Telegram group that you found me in whatever podcasting application you found it on. Details and all that stuff will be linked in the show notes. Okay, so let's get back to the Redmi Note 7 Pro. We are looking at a 6.3-inch display, either 4 or 6 gigabytes of RAM, and a Snapdragon 675 versus the Snapdragon 660. Now, for those maybe unsure about what those differences are, I will run through what some of those differences are and what that means to the average consumer. Essentially, on the Note 7 Pro with the Snapdragon 675, we're looking at an 11 nanometer versus a 14 nanometer architecture. And what that means is that it's going to not only be more power efficient, but it's going to get less heat buildup and less heat soak if you're using it when playing games. It'll stay cooler. This is kind of notable since the Redmi Note 7 Pro is already shipping with a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. And it's going to get great battery life, but the addition of the 11 nanometer architecture is going to make a tangible difference for consumers, and we are looking at a battery life beast. As it is already, I can tell you that my Mi Pad 4, which has the Snapdragon 660, has a 6,000 milliamp hour battery, and I get on average between 10 to 11 hours screen on time. So we're looking at probably something around the 10 to 11 hour mark with a smaller battery because of the better architecture. Also, it's going to be getting equipped with the Sony IMX586, and this is going to be a true 48 megapixel camera sensor, and it's going to be unlike the camera sensor found in the normal Redmi Note 7. That one is the Samsung GM1. So we're seeing a Sony sensor, and that's going to give us way more detail. It's not going to have to do any of that like reverse pixel manipulation like you would to get a 48 megapixel file out of the camera on the regular Redmi Note 7. And that's a pretty tangible upgrade, especially if you consider that the difference in price between the Redmi Note 7 and the Redmi Note 7 Pro, it's not going to be a huge difference. You're looking at anywhere between $75 to like $80 more for a newer architecture in regards to the CPU, for a better camera module. And really, this is like a pro upgrade in regards to hardware, which in my opinion is much more justifiable than, let's say, calling the older Xiaomi Mi 8 and the Mi 8 Pro one a Pro version when they were almost 90% the same. Overall, what do I think about that? Well, excuse me, I'm a little stuffed up here. I find it really interesting that Xiaomi is using India as kind of a testbed country for a lot of different variations of phones. The Indian market is a much more tech-savvy market. They're much more aware of phone specifications, of processors, of screen resolution, stuff like that. Part of that is because for a while, imported phones into India had a huge tax and tariff, and now some manufacturers are starting manufacturing in India to provide more competitive options. So the Indian consumer is a much more informed consumer on average. And I think that we're going to continue to see Xiaomi catering specifically to the more tech-savvy market. Now, whether or not these products are available, internationally is something that we're going to have to wait and see, especially in regards to like how available are they, and will it be official availability or not, in regards to like warranty and stuff like that, and through Xiaomi stores or through private retailers. So that's going to be interesting to see, but. Overall, I think that if you're a Android enthusiast, if you're a Xiaomi enthusiast, there's a lot of reasons to be grateful that the Indian market exists, because it is pushing manufacturers to give us more future-proof internals at a lower price ultimately, and that's better for consumers all over the world. Next up, in regards to Xiaomi news and discussion, so recently, I'm not sure if this was a typo, but there was some speculation online of whether or not the brand QCY was somehow kind of related to Xiaomi. And I wanted to go ahead and kind of just address this. I have a friend of mine who's fluent in Mandarin, lives in China, and I asked him to kind of give me an idea of what the relationship, if any, was between Xiaomi and QCY. Obviously, if you're able to, communicate in Mandarin, you're going to get maybe a more accurate and better idea of what's going on in China. And this is what I learned. This is what I learned, at least from the most reliable source I could find in regards to the relationship between Xiaomi and QCY. And what that relationship is between the two brands is, it seems as if QCY is a subsidiary or a brand, at least, that Xiaomi is invested in. This kind of necessitates that I give you guys a better kind of little bit of background into kind of the role that Xiaomi plays in the Chinese tech scene. Xiaomi, along with being a company that makes cell phones and all kinds of gadgets, they actually have crowdfunding platforms for China, and kind of similar to the way we have like Indiegogo and stuff like that here in America. But generally, what Xiaomi will do is, if it finds a company that has a product that's looking to get funded, they will either absorb that company, make it a subsidiary, or invest heavily in that company, as well as give that company access to crowdfunding, either through the Xiaomi's crowdfunding site, or they might invest in them privately. And obviously there's benefits for Xiaomi in that. And it seems as if that's what the case is with QCY, that there is some type of business partnership, business relationship, subsidiary relationship that Xiaomi has with QCY. And when, and I don't know if this came as a typo or whatnot, but at Mobile World Congress, there was a new update, at least, to the QCY T1C headphones, it seems like, or it was announced at this point, according to Giz China and a few other websites. And these headphones look to be an absolutely kind of real game changer in regards to price. We're looking at like under $25 US for a binaural pair of truly wireless headphones. They're going to be able to connect to different devices and have a whole host of other features. They're going to apparently be using the Raychem 5.0 or Raychem 5.0 chip, according to some sources that I saw. And I'm not sure exactly why this was getting reported, but this has been reported online, that these are going to be new headphones hitting the market. Just coincidentally, GearBest reached out to me after I'd read about this and asked me if I wanted to do a product video for them, because they're doing a rebrand of their site. They gave me a really low budget of like under $40 because my affiliate link sales haven't been so high. And it turns out that after GearBest's markup, the QCY T1C headphones with Bluetooth 5.0 are going to make it under the $40 mark. So I'm going to have a review of that coming up probably towards the middle of March. They don't have them in stock yet, and apparently they have quite a few pre-orders. So there's definitely going to be a demand for that kind of review, and I'm looking forward to that, especially comparing it to other truly wireless headphones I have. The next bit of Chinese news is that the Poco F1 is going to officially be getting the Widevine L1 and 4K 60, apparently in a public beta or a beta version of the software that we have that has been made available from Xiaomi. Some of those features have been rolled out, so it's only a matter of time before the Poco F1 gets the ability to stream stuff in HD from Netflix and Amazon. And as many of you know, I've been using the 4K 60 on my Pocophone F1 now for a little while. And I did a whole comparison on that footage. I'll have a link to that in the description down below of this video, and I'll probably have a card up for it. But overall, the 4K 60 footage looks okay. It's really impressive for a phone at the Pocophone F1's price point. The more important thing about this update to the Pocophone F1, in my opinion, is just a reaffirmation of Xiaomi's kind of commitment towards increasing the value and increasing the performance of that phone, and really, doing everything that they can to give buyers the most amount of value possible, which is phenomenal to see. And that's going to kind of wrap it up in regards to the news front. Next thing I want to transition and talk about has been my use of the Pixel Experience ROM on my Poco F1. It has been a week now since I have been using the Pixel Experience ROM, and I just want to share some of what my thoughts are with it and kind of what the overall user experience has been like. And that experience is pretty good. The phone runs smooth. It runs really, really fast. There's no issues with RAM management. Battery life, I'm seeing over 5.5 hours of screen on time when I charge the phone up fully. And the camera performance is slightly better on the Pixel Experience ROM than when you just do it via the APK. I don't know why, but it's super responsive. It's really, really a pleasure to use. I'm having no issues with notifications or stuff showing up on the home screen. And I am quite satisfied with the overall experience of using the Pixel Experience ROM. Now, that being said, I still don't like the built-in gestures and navigations for that. And I know people are going to clamor and say use the XDA developer gestures. And to be honest with you, I don't want to go through the hassle of doing stuff like that when the phone's in fast boot mode to hide the pill at the bottom. And I think that most users, unless they're really hardcore into side loading ROMs and stuff like that, are probably not going to bother. I know that there's going to be a very vocal minority that do, but for someone like myself, I can't be bothered to do that. I want to test ROMs and just see how the ROM runs. And if there's stuff built into that ROM that is changeable, that's great. If I'm not happy with it, I'm not going to go off and start tweaking everything until it perfectly suits my needs specifically. I have noticed some minor bugs in regards to the Bluetooth and the Bluetooth connecting and Bluetooth pairing on the phone. It's nothing that a reset does not, or it's nothing that I should say that a restart doesn't fix, but it is kind of annoying because I do use Bluetooth headphones quite a bit. And on the subject of Bluetooth headphones, the review of the AirDots Pro versus the QCY T1 Pro is coming up. Probably this week, I'm going to be doing the official comparison video, and I'm going to be doing another companion video talking about what I think makes a user experience good or bad when using wireless headphones, and basically what kind of features and what type of things I like to see from a pair of wireless headphones. And yeah, so So that's it. That's going to go ahead and kind of wrap up the news for us today in regards to Xiaomi news. It's been kind of a slow news week outside of the news of the Redmi Note 7 Pro. I might be getting my hands on a Mi 9 in the near future, so I hope you guys stay tuned to that. Until next time, it's been Mitchell coming to you guys from Hanoi. This has been the Millennial podcast. Thanks for listening. Signing off.